A bird sang this song to me. There was a message in its melody. Sweetest lyrics that I ever heard. There's a message in the songs of birds. Tomorrow is another day. Living is the only way. Tomorrow's gonna ever come. Listen to the words of the song. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright.
Greetings and welcome to A Sip of Inspiration. I'm Stephanie Wilson-Coleman, known as the Empowerment Doctor, and I want to tell you today that today's episode is going to be absolutely fantastic. Now, you all know that I have some housekeeping to do because my media person tells me to do it, and I get in trouble whenever I don't do it. So let's do that first. So if you're listening to this now, you're listening to it on Facebook at empowerdoctor.com. And you're listening to it on YouTube, empowerdoctor.com. If you're listening to it on my business page, it is empowermentdoctor.com. It's also available later on today on all of the podcast stations that you can think about, okay? With that being said, I have a sponsor, Rise, and they have sponsored every episode, and we are so grateful for that. So when you need a supply company to rise to your needs, call Resource Industrial Supply and Equipment. So joining me today is Isabella Braveheart. Now, you guys know that the name Isabella is very dear to me because it was my grandmother's name and I was raised by my grandmother. So I think anybody who has a name of Isabella is just absolutely wonderful and perfect, okay? So I'm going to read a little bit about her because I found her background incredibly interesting, and I knew that she could bring some great ideas to our audience, because we too, and anyone listening to this, is always looking to have a better life, to feel comfortable and happy in the skin that you're in now during the time that you have on earth. So, named the Deep Water Heart Surgeon by one of her clients, isn't that so cool? Urban Priestess Isabella Braveheart bridges the depths of the underworlds with the ecstasy of the upper worlds, burning down what needs to die so that more life can live. I think that is absolutely fantastic. And I know all of us have found ourselves in places where we needed to escape, or as I always say, burn up or transform. Transform is a really nice word, but sometimes I have to go out and just burn it up, okay? As you all know, I love burning both ceremonies, so her work speaks to me. So I wanted to have her today. So thank you for joining me today. And tell us a little bit about you, where they can find you. And her website is awesome too, people. So please go out and look at her website.
Thank you so much for having me. I love your intro, by the way. I was grooving out over here to your intro. Your song literally felt like a sip of inspiration. I was thinking, what would inspiration taste like if I was drinking some right now? I feel like we could all design our own personal inspiration cocktails and decide what would go into this and this and this that would taste so unique. So thank you for having me. You can find me everywhere as Isabella Braveheart, isabellabraveheart.com, on all of my socials as well, or it is Isabella Braveheart.
And she is everywhere too, guys. You can find her on LinkedIn, so be sure you look there. She has Facebook. She has several challenges available that you can look up and sign up for. So I encourage you to visit her web pages and do some of those challenges.
Come find me. And if you do, let me know that this is where you found me. I would love to know where you came from.
Oh, fantastic. So that would be great. Yeah. So I do have a question for you. So what is self-expression and why does it matter?
Great question. So before I answer that, I just want to talk a little bit about why that's even relevant to this conversation. And I call myself a self-expressionist. There are a lot of labels that I could be called: a coach, a performer, a speaker, a this, a that, and all of those are true. And the reason I use the term self-expressionist is because it allows for all forms of expression to come through that isn't relegated to a certain box. And one of the things that I see, so when we think of self-expression generally, and I'd be happy to hear what your audience thinks. In fact, you could even type in the chat or, wherever you're at on Facebook or YouTube, what you think of when you think of self-expression. Because I think we tend to think of self-expression as art, as performance, as creativity, as a poem or a dance or like that. And while those are aspects of self-expression and really beautiful, potent examples of self-expression that I myself very much identify with, when I use the word expressionist and how I incorporate it into my work as well as my life is the ability to unapologetically be myself with anyone, anywhere, at any time. And if you're human, which I imagine most of you are, what I notice is that so many of us are one person here, and we're a different person when we're with our family, and we're a different person in the workplace. And while it makes sense that different aspects of us come out in each place, I do something. I'm a certain Isabella here with you now, and I might be a little bit of a different Isabella if I was working with a client, but they're all uniquely me. So I'm not trying to be something different for something else in order to fit in or not lose love. And that's where I like to play in self-expression, is that what would it look like if you felt so comfortable with who you are that you weren't afraid to rock the boat if who you are sometimes maybe makes other people uncomfortable? And that is the place where I really love to play and support.
So how do you get people comfortable with just first acknowledging that they do have multiple selves or multiple people inside of them, and that they all have a place to be? So how do you get people to accept that? Because people get a little nervous when you start talking about that. It's like, well, I just can't be that playful and joyful all the time. Sometimes I just have to be like this, but that like this is not you. So how do you get them to even begin to consider it first before they even accept it?
Yeah, such a great question. So there's this, what I see this fallacy around who we think we should be and what we think that should get us. So for example, for me, I think, or I used to think, I don't think this way anymore. I used to think that if I was a certain way, then I would get the love of, let's say, my extended family, for example, whom I felt very judged around. And I find that most people have challenged being ourselves around our families. Or with men in the past, I would try to be the thing that I thought they wanted. And what I realize is that in trying to be someone we're not, we're actually creating love that we don't want. And it's not actually love. It's a false term of acceptance, a false way of acceptance. And the more I can be who I am, and I'm going to define that term a little bit later, but for a generalization, the more I am me, the more I'm actually attracting those that truly love and celebrate and appreciate me for who I am. And that's the kind of love and acceptance that I really want. I don't want some idea of love and acceptance, which actually is accepting some false version of me, which isn't satisfying at all. And it is exhausting to try to be this thing that has no interest to me. And so the piece that is the, as you say, to even believe this is to begin to look at where are the people and the places in your life where you really feel joy, really feel comfort, really feel this is who I want to be with and where I want to spend my time and where I feel like I can be me and I feel seen and received and loved. And then we get to create more and more and more and more of that. And that's a process.
And that is, I guess, can be difficult for some, because generally we're taught to take oneself to work, and that self you take to work isn't really who you are. It's just this big facade that you read through all sort of magazines and columns that you need to be. And then people wonder why their blood pressure is high, or they're having a heart attack, or they don't enjoy it, because that's not who you are. But we're told that we need to be multiple people all the time.
Yeah. So part of being an expressionist is being willing to go against the grain. It requires some of the most radical courage, and it's courage in the small and the nuanced and breath by breath, moment by moment, conversation by conversation. And the beginning of that, Stephanie, is when I began to actually come in here and connect to, what do I want? What creates joy here? Releasing the narratives. We all, if you were born in any culture whatsoever around the world, you've had something in you that has you believe that life should be a certain way and you should be a certain way. And the first baby step is just knowing that these are conditioned beliefs that we all have, and some of them may be true. Some of them you may feel, that actually resonates with me. I think that really speaks to who I am. But to notice the places that don't. And the courageous part that I talk about is the courage to risk losing connection in service of true connection. If I say raise your hand, I don't see anyone, but for those of you that are live, you can raise your hand to yourself. If you've ever stayed in a relationship or a friendship or even continued relationship with a family member that it didn't feel good. It had expired. It was past its expiration date, but we stay in it for the fear of losing connection or love or belonging or safety or security. The art of the expressionist is being willing to look inside and say, I know, or at least I'm willing to be on the exploration, the journey of who I am at my core, and I'm willing to lose everything in the way of what's not that. I'm willing to burn down, as we said, everything that's not that, and then step into the new fertile soil. Ashes are fertile. Into the new fertile soil of those ashes to grow true alignment to that which makes my heart smile and breathe and feels like a sip of inspiration.
You mentioned, you're right, ashes are fertile. I just thought about when I read an article about the forest fires in Canada, and the environmentalist says, well, the fires are necessary because there's so many good nutrients in the ashes.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's the lesson to us, because we don't think about it like that. We don't think about the lessons and the nutrients that are in the ashes of what we burn down in our lives or what we leave behind in our lives, because now we're ready to just be me or whoever we want to be. So that is true. So when people decide that they're ready to make a move, and they're a little nervous about it, because we worry about anything that can be worried about.
Sure.
Oh yeah. So,
Guilty.
Yeah, right.
I do it too.
Oh yeah, I make lists. But I'm okay with lists, because lists organize me, and I realize that I need a list so I can be organized.
And I probably would be happier if I made more lists.
So. No, but I did have to cut those lists down, though. For those of you who know me, it's like, you can't spend all your time making lists. Now it's just the important things I need to focus on, because the other stuff is minutia, and that's just an excuse for not moving forward. So
that's right.
Yeah. So what are some of the first steps people can take to step into their boldness about being who they really know they are? Because it's deep down inside, and it keeps showing up, but we keep silencing it. So what are some of the steps they can take?
I love this conversation so much, because I get to witness freedom and liberation with every little baby step that we take. And it doesn't matter if you are a powerful white man who we might think of as the patriarchy, or you are a woman leaving an abusive relationship, because I've seen it across the board. We all have fear. We all have terror. We all want to be loved, and we all need to source courage to truly be received, to truly step out into ourselves as expressionists to be received who we are. And some of the most, I work with very powerful men as well as people who are brand new on their journey. And I will tell you that every single human I've met has the same fear about losing love. It is across the board. It manifests in different ways. And some of us appear more powerful, less powerful, more this, more that, but that fear is strong and real. And so as you talk about these first steps, I first want to say, and I think it's really important, is that there is no one right journey for everyone. There is not.
Right.
And as we are stepping into, and hallelujah, stepping into a world where personal development and healing and learning about ourselves and treating our trauma is now becoming much more commonplace than it ever has been in the past, it can get really easy to slip into this slide down the slope of it needs to look this way, or I did this way, you should do it that way, or everybody needs to do the power of positive thinking, or the manifesting that, or the blah, 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 blah. No, you don't. You find the thing that works for you and the people that work for you and the inspiration that works for you. And we all follow our own unique path. So I want to preface what I'm about to say with that is that try on everything I say. It might be bullshit. Oh, I didn't even ask you. Can I swear?
I know, go ahead. It's fine.
It might not resonate with you, and that's okay. But I ask for you to try it on like a shirt.
Okay.
Let's see if this fits. Maybe I need another size. This fabric feels good, but it's a little tight. And then you get to choose whether you purchase the shirt or, whether you wear it for a week. But this is what I know to be true. And when I say true, I use truth a lot. Part of how I identify as a truth teller as well. And part of the world of the expressionist is being a truth teller, your own truth in every moment. And to know that my truth is not the truth. Your truth is not the truth. Nobody's truth is the truth, but it's your truth. And it's my truth. And to come into connection with multiple truths at any given time. So our two truths are having a conversation right now with all the other truths watching this show. And what I look at as one of the perfect, beautiful places to start are the times when you notice yourself holding back, not saying something, or saying something that you don't mean for fear of doing it wrong, not fitting in, getting fired, getting kicked out of the family. We've got lots of reasons to obey, to be obedient, to do it right. We've got lots of reasons, particularly as women. We have lots of reasons. And back in the day in tribe, you would die. You'd literally die. If the tribe kicked you out, we couldn't survive on our own. That actually literally did mean death. It no longer means physical death today, but it can be an ego death. It certainly can be a death in loneliness. And so to begin to look at the places where I didn't say that thing, or I said it in a way that actually wasn't what I would have said, or I stayed quiet because I thought I shouldn't do this, or I didn't, or maybe I think I'm too much and I'm too loud, and so I don't do that. And the more we can begin to identify the places that are what I call out of congruent or out of alignment with what's actually true in that moment. And and the other thing I want to add to truth is that truth is malleable and ever changing. And so my truth in this moment might not actually be my truth tomorrow. And I hold for myself and all humans that our truth can change at any time. And that's a very important thing, very important. Because if I said yes to something today and it's a no tomorrow, then I'm not going to, then we have to create the space for each other to evolve as humans. And as you know, having on a journey and having followers on journeys of personal development and evolution, we're changing all the time. Thank God.
Yes, thank God.
Right?
Right. Thank God we're changing all the time. Yes.
Yes. So please, I want to be different tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be a different woman than I am today. And then to have the graciousness with ourselves and each other that my truth is malleable. My truth can change. And I'm going in a lot of directions here, but to bring it back is to find the moments and tips and tricks. I'm not really a tips and tricks person. I'm more of a I'll just be that. And whatever that is, if you are inspired by something that I do or say or be, beautiful, have that ripple into your life in whatever way. But in a tip and trick, begin to just jot down, I did that thing today. I said that thing. I didn't say that thing. I did this instead of that. But we know when we're full of it.
Yes, we
Not
do.
with blame, right? Not because we're bad, but we know. So to write down for yourself, to identify where are the places where I would have liked to be more of me in that moment. Even if I don't know what me was, I know that wasn't it. I didn't want to be that.
Right.
And then as we create awareness around where we're out of congruence, where we're out of alignment, then we can begin to bring in congruence and alignment as the next step.
Yes, we do know. We really do know. And I think if we don't follow it, it talks to us later about ignoring it. And then we don't feel good about ourselves at that point. So it's like, if we could just have the courage and be all right with who we are in that moment, we'd be surprised about how the people around you will really appreciate that too, because they can feel when you're not being authentic.
We are so smart. And even if our minds don't, our bodies know, our consciousness knows. We can feel when things are off in the space. We always know.
Right.
And there was something I was going to say about that. Well, that wasn't it, but I'm going in my own little direction here.
That's okay. It's a conversation. That's what we do.
One of the things I want to say though is that the beautiful journey of having the courage to risk losing love. And when I say love again, I mean it's not real love. It's fake love, because if it was real love, it would feel like real love.
Right.
And this is what I was going to say, Stephanie, to your point, is that even if there are aspects of me that I don't know what's true, what's not, I've heard that message for so long. I believe this about myself. I don't actually know what I believe versus what I've been told. That's real. And that takes a while to pick apart and really understand, who am I apart from my conditioning? That's a whole journey. As we become to get clear on that, your happiness tells you everything. If you're radically happy and you can truly look inside, and between you and you and you and God and you and the earth say, I love my life, then you're probably in good, fertile spaces with good, fertile people. If you don't know what's off, or you're not sure if it's you or not, you just look inside and check your happiness odometer. And if it's low, then something's probably off. And that's all the data I need to know that it's time to, like, I don't feel good when I'm spend time with that person. I didn't feel good after that conversation. What was that? Was that me? We're always some part, right?
Right.
And the beautiful thing is that we actually do get to design our lives with the exact right fit all the time. And I will say that I am blessed, and I've put in the work. I have put in the freaking work, that I do not spend time with anyone in my life that I don't want to. I don't hire people I don't want to be around. I don't work with people I don't want to be around, with clients. I don't spend time with family that I don't want to be around. I don't have friends that I don't want to be around. I have designed my life so that every single person I interact with, I have chosen. Now, family is another story, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, because there's soul family and blood family, and those are two big different things.
Yes, they are.
They're really different. But the good news is that when we're willing to risk losing what we think keeps us safe, we actually clear the field for that which we really enjoy. And it is what a bigger gift.
Yes, it is. But we do have to be willing to make those steps and make those changes. And I think people think you have to make all the changes today. Just make one change. And you all who know me know I say that's why the divine presence created called waiting, because if it's someone that makes you feel bad, just don't answer the phone. People are resilient. They'll know that you don't want to be bothered and they'll stop calling you.
Yeah.
So yes, we have to make some decisions about how we're going to allow other people to control who we need to be and what we need to be to them so that they can be happy when it's robbing our own happiness. And I don't think we understand that sometimes. It's like people just think they have to be there and have to do this and have to do this, and then they're miserable. But you don't. People are happier when you're happy. It's
And
funny
the world needs you to be happy. We really do.
Be happy, right?
And I don't mean that in a cliche way.
Right.
Whatever your brand of happiness and gifts and talent are, whether or not you're connected to it and know it, the world needs it. We need people. We do.
That's what we need. That's what we need. We need more of that. And we'll be surprised at what takes care of itself once we start living in that happiness spot, once we start embracing all of the good here in this universe for us. Once we decide we want to discover that, we'll be surprised.
And, you know, I will say too, Stephanie, I'm a hard nut to crack. You got to really convince me of some big stuff. I spent a lot of years really angry, really shut down, very traumatized in many ways. And when I heard these things about radical self-responsibility and we create our life by, I was like, you don't know. You don't know my life. I'm this. And I don't expect anyone to do anything overnight. Even if you are pissed off and resentful, but you try, great. Okay, I'm going to do this thing that feels really uncomfortable and scary, and I don't believe it, and I hate everyone, and I don't believe that it works, and, you know, Stephanie's full of it, and Isabella's full of it, but why not? Because I'm miserable. Great. We don't have to be connected to gratitude in every moment in order to shift and transform. You don't. If you do, I would have never transformed. Gratitude was far away, far away. A long time for me to get grateful. A really long time.
I used to have a forgiveness prayer. So I'm big on forgiveness now, but I used to say literally, okay, I forgive you if you don't get hit by a truck. I forgive you if that building doesn't fall on you.
You know how good forgiveness feels when there's an if attached to it.
Yeah. And then it didn't take long before it became, I just forgive you. But I needed those other steps to get to the
yes,
I forgive you. And then it was like you couldn't even really remember what you were forgiving because it's been healed and you don't think about it and it's gone. But I needed those first steps. Okay. So,
it's real.
Yeah.
It's real.
It's real.
Even now I'm like, I don't have anything to be grateful for. I'm not forgiving you.
Right.
It happens faster now though, doesn't it?
It happens a little faster now, right? A little faster. But I have to tell you, sometimes I'm still in there. Okay, if you don't get hit by a train, I'll forgive you. But,
true.
But that part comes up. And I think I don't want people to think that, you know, there's a place where you arrive to. It's like you're always changing when you're learning to live in a place of love. Yeah. And because you're looking at things differently than you looked at them before. So give yourself some mercy, give yourself some grace, but do the work.
Yes. And that is such a big thing is the mercy and the grace and the compassion piece. And I think if there's one thing that I would want to leave you all with today, hopefully there'll be more than one, but if there's just one is, as I mentioned in the beginning of this show, we're all leading really different lives. And we come from really different places. And there's one argument that can say so-and-so and so-and-so had the same mother and father, and they, you know, were brought up in the same place. And one of them acted out terribly and the other one was great. Bad, you're bad and you're great. No, We have different nervous systems. We have different astrology. We have different traumas. We have different physical bodies. We have different brains. We have different sensitivities. And we don't know how long the path is. We don't know what our unique journey looks like, or how long it might take to go from being angry and resentful to really free and being able to forgive and be grateful on the daily. It might take Stephanie 5 minutes, and it might take someone else 5 or 10 or 15 years.
Exactly.
And to be gentle with yourself on your timeline, because we really don't know. We don't know. When we put seeds in the ground, some sprout really fast.
Yes.
And some take years, but we don't stop watering the ones that we don't see. And I think it's really important. We're talking about plants before we got on. Stephanie and I were, and or should I be calling you Dr. Wilson-Coleman?
No, Stephanie will work.
Okay, great. And we are like plants. We all require different soil, different amounts of light, different water schedule. We all need all of it, but we require it differently. And so to have compassion, to be gentle with yourself as you're on this journey, knowing that you are on the journey. You wouldn't be here if you weren't listening to this podcast. And I know that for myself, I can be a horrible critic with myself, that I should be further along. I should be more successful here. I should be this, should blah, 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 blah. That does not make me feel good. That does not inspire me to be my better self when I am judging how far along I am or I'm not. And to just remember that wherever you are, it's just one breath, one foot,
right?
One foot.
That's right. And enjoy the breath and the foot, the one step. As my mother used to say to me, girl, stop shooting on yourself. Stop shooting on yourself. I said, I should have stopped shooting on yourself. So let's just stop that, you know?
Yeah, no more shoulds. We've had enough shoulds in life.
That's right.
We've had enough shoulds. Let's not add any to our plate.
That's right. No more. Right.
No more.
So you have completed an international tour of your one-woman show. I'm going to read this: A Pilgrimage of EmBODYment and debuted Body. The raw truth about body image. I think this is really cool. It's an unapologetically edgy show. I love edgy things about the hunger pains of the feminine in the world without female leadership. Tell us a little bit about that, and what was it first that made you think to create this? Because this is absolutely fantastic. Because not everyone sits around thinking about doing a one-woman show, so that's why I asked.
I didn't.
That's right.
Yeah. So those are two shows. The first one is Pilgrimage of EmBODYment, which is the one-woman show. The second is Body, which is an actual play.
Okay.
So this is another aspect of the expressionist, and particularly if you are someone that wants to be rewarded financially for doing what you love, to listen to the whispers of your heart. And I will say that I am, every dollar I earn is from doing exactly what I want to do. And it didn't start that way. It definitely did not start that way. It was a very organic, emergent process. And much of it was this Pilgrimage of EmBODYment, which, as was said, is a one-woman show. And this show was created out of a very painful time in my life. I had experience on stage, and way back when I went to Hollywood to do the whole thing in LA and become a celebrity and a movie star, and Spirit definitely had other plans for me, which I'm so grateful for. I had to go out and live a lot of life and get burned down a lot of times to understand that everything was birthed from inside of me. I would never perform somebody else's script again. I'd be writing my own scripts and be creating my own art. And I didn't know that. And what happened was that I was already doing some performance art and, a little bit here and there. But I was healing from my third miscarriage, and I was devastated, as you can imagine. Mm-hmm. And I just wrote. I didn't really know what else to do. I was just writing and writing. And I had been working on some other pieces, and part of my childhood involved sexual trauma and different pieces of things that have been very challenging to heal in this lifetime, for sure. And still, you know, I'm still on the journey. And one of the ways that I found to transmute some of this pain was through creating art. And whether or not you identify as an artist of any kind, we could have a whole episode on transmuting pain into creativity. And I don't mean that art artistically, but it creates life out of what feels like death, even if it's not literal death. In this case, it was. But I had been writing pieces around my sexual trauma, and I had actually just performed this piece around a different miscarriage. And then I had this third one, and I was so devastated. And I was writing and writing, and I ended up merging a couple of pieces together. And I fast forward, 12 of my best friends sat in a living room and had me perform for them. And so I came in and I created a monologue about kind of a combination of everything that's happened with my body, from sexual assault to miscarriage and a lot of the things in between. And so I performed this piece for them. And I will tell you, just in the creation and the performance of it was maybe 20 minutes, I think, I got to heal so much because I got to be witnessed in my pain. And that's also a whole other show, is the power of being witnessed, the power of sharing ourselves vulnerably and authentically and being loved and received in that, and having the courage to look really freaking messy. And so I performed this piece, and my community, my people, they basically said, Isabella, we're not letting you out of this room until you agree to do a show. You have to move this work forward. And so I did, and I created a one-woman show. And I want you also to know, I have no experience in script writing, none whatsoever. In fact, I don't consider myself, well, I didn't at the time, a writer at all. My mother is a writer. She's an author. She's that one.
Okay.
Not me. And I had to let that story go, to stop buying the narrative that I wasn't this, that I wasn't that, and trust my heart. And my heart wrote that script. My tears wrote that script. Mm-hmm. My womb wrote that script. My higher self wrote that script. Mm-hmm. All girls who have been sexually assaulted wrote that script. This was a collaborative effort from all parts of the cosmos. And I went on stage and I performed it, and it's been years since opening night, and it still moves me to tears. It still lives in me as one of the most extraordinary experiences of my life. Because I was in the most congruent, aligned, radically expressed version of Isabella. And received and paid for it. And that's what I want for each person. I don't care what you love to do, that you can stand on what the proverbial metaphorical stage of your life, bare your heart, bare your brains, your mind, your body, your soul, and feel at home and feel loved. And that turned into a tour of the show. And then I ended up writing another script, which was a full-length play, and it had actors in it. And I don't know anything about, I know nothing about this. I've never taken a class on writing. And who knows, if someone, if a real script writer was in the audience, they may slay me. But I saw what happened to my audience. I saw people literally drop to their knees. This woman literally flung herself onto me on stage, sobbing, and said, "You just saved my life." That was my pain that did that. I had no idea of the impact that my story would have. None. And particularly, my work it had been up until that point, very feminine centric, women's issues. sexual assault, body image, feminine leadership. And I really thought that would eliminate half of my audience base, that men wouldn't be interested in my work. They'd be really turned off by it. And I found the opposite was true, that it elicited men's stories, even perpetrators who had enacted the assault, that could see something new in themselves. And that I trust. I don't need to know anything about writing a script. Nothing. I see what happens, and that I can trust.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was sitting under a tree with a friend of mine after the show, and he's a very successful entrepreneur who I thought wouldn't resonate at all with this stuff at all. And he said to me, Mark Zuckerberg was a big thing at the time, and he said, if I had the opportunity to have Mark Zuckerberg speak at my corporation, or you, I would have you, because you would move my audience in a way that Mark never could. And I share that with you because I started sobbing, and I had a realization that I had never had before, which was everything was worth it. Every tear, every amount of pain, it was all worth it. I would not change a freaking thing. If my words helped someone else to heal in that way, thank you, God. Let me be of service. Just let me be of service. So I don't remember your question, but
but that was fantastic. I think that was absolutely wonderful. We often don't know the impact we have on others. We step into, and we almost have to be pushed into our true selves.
We sometimes do. Yeah.
I do. I go kicking and screaming, but
I kick and scream.
But then you do it, and then so many people are healed and helped by it. And
it's terrifying, and I don't want to pretend like it's not. I think that some of the, really all of the most rewarding things in life require a little working through some fear. And it's worth it.
That's right. It does. It requires some of that. It requires you to experience some things that you have no idea how you're going to fix or get out of. It requires that. But that's where I find that I wouldn't change a thing that happened in my life either. And I found that the techniques that you learn and the people that you meet and the people you share with and the things you learn from other people are so valuable and makes your heart feel so good that I wouldn't give any of those things back or pass on any of them, because the experience ended up with teaching me something I never thought I could be taught.
Absolutely. And that's why the healing is so important, so that we can come to that place of, when you're deep in it, it's hard to see the beauty, but getting to the other side of it, that's where the beauty exists. And I imagine when you started this podcast, you were probably terrified doing it right, And I imagine now you have opened up this entire world that you didn't even know possible.
True. And, and when I started it, it was like, oh God, I don't know how to do this, how you do this. There's still a lot of things I don't know, but I'm okay with what I don't know. And I do what I can do. And it's like, I'm amazed at how many people are touched by it and learn things from it. And I think it's important for us to share our stories and our lives, so people can understand that they're not the only ones. And that even through this too, there's some good stuff that comes out of it. There's some great lessons. There's a whole lot of love that ends up coming.
So much love.
That's right. So, and I too wouldn't trade the things that I had. And I had 2 near-death experiences. Twice they told me I was going to die. I did tell God, okay, I'm going to get this right, because we don't need a third time. Okay, I promise. But even with that, it's like the clarity that comes along with it. Now you give yourself, I needed that level to give myself permission to just go inside and figure out what I needed so that I could love myself. So for those of you listening, don't get that bad, okay? Just give yourself permission now to go to inside and just figure out what it is you like, what makes you feel good, what makes you smile or happy, and then what doesn't, and don't do any more of that.
Don't do any more of that. It's like we go back to the fertilizer thing. If we're putting toxic substances in the plant bed, your veggies are not going to grow. If they grow, well, if we use pesticides, they grow, and then they'll toxify you. And so we really do need to pay attention to what kind of nutrients we're allowing ourselves to be around. And that goes for what I watch, what I consume, the conversations that I have, the people that I spend my time with, the food that I put in my body. It's all either nutritious or harmful. Some of it's benign, but we get to choose. And when I really take stock, I don't watch television at all. And I was at a theater one time watching a movie, and I remember there was a horror movie. What is it called? A trailer came on, which didn't make sense given the movie that I saw, because I don't watch horror movies. And my whole body contracted in fear, as you would with a horror movie. It's ugh. And I had this experience where I don't ever want to have my body feel that way. That might happen in life. That may happen without me intending on it, but I'm not going to go put myself in an environment where my body is feeling these horrible feelings inside. And so we get to do that in any moment. If you're not feeling good, like I said, with a relationship, don't spend your time in it anymore.
Right. Just don't do it anymore. Right.
I know it takes something to make that transition, but find support.
That's right. And do one thing, just get a list and start doing those things. So
this is our one precious life. I mean, it's our one precious life. If we come back in a different body at a different time. This is your one precious life in this form. Let's not waste it feeling awful.
So you run Express, which is a 9-month program. So tell us a bit about that and how people can reach out and become a part of it if they would like to do that, because I know people are listening and they says, God, I want more of that.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So Express is one of my dear babies. It's a 9-month program, and it's all about self-expression. And each month we dive into a different area of self-expression. So that might be artistic. It might be family related. It might be body related. It might be sexually related. We look at self-expression in all of the different ways, and we go over a course of 9 months until at the end of that 9 months, you truly do become a radically different human that is understanding, aligned, and congruent with the truth of who you are. And it's a really beautiful journey. Self-expression doesn't happen overnight. So it's a 9-month program to give time to really steep in what it means to be an expressionist and take that on as a way of life.
And 9 months is really pretty cool, because that's generally the length of time that it takes to give birth to something. So
that's right.
That's right. So you get 9 whole months. So where do they find it or sign up for it?
So we don't actually open enrollment again until next year, but find me, Isabella Braveheart, IsabellaBraveheart.com, Instagram, Facebook, and send me a message if you're interested. I have some other smaller offerings coming up this year that are 8-9 weeks that I can share with you, that are little mini bite-sized versions of Express. So if you find me, I'll send you the information on that.
Okay. And if you're interested in those listening to those bite-sized ones, do those, because sometimes that gives you an idea of what the 9-month commitment's going to look. How it's
have a little taste before you eat the whole cake, just a little taste.
Unless it's chocolate, then just eat the whole cake. Okay.
That's right. Or the icing. Yeah,
that's right.
I just want the whole cake.
All the icing around it, right? You just can't leave any chocolate.
I don't do tastes. I'm just like I'm a glutton. I just like all of that. Give me more.
When it comes to chocolate, I do make small slices, and this is a game I play with myself, and then I eat 30 of them. Right.
I mean, there's something to that. There's something to that.
It's something about doing it with a little fork. It's just something, even though
you have a little seafood fork.
But that's my thing. So you had a 10-day challenge, Truth Be Told and Truth Be Bold. So what's that about, and how are you offering it now? And
so Truth Be Told, Truth Be Bold will happen next March as well. Truth Be Told, Truth Be Bold is an amazing 10-day challenge. It's free. And we do a quick, hard, deep dive into self-expression. I was sharing earlier, it's kind of like a buffet where you get to try, you do get to have the tastes. And it's 10 days and it's intense and it's all in, and it's a beautiful community of like-minded expressionists. We're all in this deep cauldron together and taking on some really, really amazing parts of life. I've seen miracles happen in this free challenge. It's extraordinary. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We've got a little ways to go. The best thing to do would just to get on my email list or shoot me a message individually, and I'll keep you updated on the immediate offerings.
Fantastic. So I want to thank you for sharing your time with my audience and with me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's fantastic. And it sounds incredibly interesting. So for those of you who are like me, who do lots of self-help programs and stuff, this sounds like something you just have to do. It's
different.
Yeah, because it is different, right?
It's very different. And if you want to play in the world of getting uncomfortable and practice what it means to work your courage, definitely come find me. If there's one thing I do well, it's push people past their comfort zones in service of absolute liberation and freedom.
Oh, cool. Okay. So thank you for being my guest tonight. So for those of you who are listening or now or looking at this later, be sure you reach out to me or to Isabella for information about her upcoming programs. And as she says, it's IsabellaBraveheart.com. And she's in LinkedIn. She's in social media. She's in most of the social media platforms. So she's easy to find, and send her a message so that you can get tapped into this wonderful impressionist experiences where you can finally get rid of some of that stuff that you've been trying to get rid of and step into some things and get some courage to do it, or at least have somebody hold your hand while you're trembling. Okay.
Yeah, let's lighten the load.
Right.
Lighten the load.
So
have some joy.
Right. So as I always say, may this day offer you just what you need in each unfolding moment. I want you to be inspired. Until further notice, I want you to celebrate everything. I don't care what it is, celebrate it. Do not go gently into that good night, but find a hero worth dying for and take it. Be the person that you have been waiting for, and make today so awesome that yesterday gets jealous. And above all else, do it your way. I'm Stephanie Wilson-Coleman, known as the Empowerment Doctor, and it has been a true pleasure to be with you tonight. And it has been fantastic to have Isabella as my guest. So with that, I'm going to say good night, and you guys all take care.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Bye now.
She got to go.